Hi everyone. Our topic is Introduction to GitHub Actions. All right. So it's about me, Bilal Shahzad. I'm, you can say, architect, teacher, blogger, YouTuber. I'm MVP and MCT since 2017. This is some information how you can contact me. Okay. What is our agenda? So basically, we will see what is DevOps and then what is CI, CD, and CD. What are pipelines? We hear these terms. We work with these terms without knowing these terms. And then we will learn what are GitHub Actions and how we can use them to build our pipelines. Uh, then components of GitHub Actions. Then we'll see many demos and then question and answer session. So what is DevOps? I mean, if you go for DevOps definition, you will see many diagrams or many definitions. So let me give you some quick definition and then I'll tell you my definition, simple definition to understand it easily. So basically DevOps is a set of practices, right? Which are introduced or which came into existence with practices, with practical experiences like design patterns. So there are different set of practices which combines our software development and IT operations. Right. Normally, in the world we have dev and ops different departments, but in many organizations, dev are doing all the stuff, right? So here operations mean the ones who are managing our infrastructure, who are managing the deployment or maintaining our applications. We are calling them ops, and dev are development teams. So the purpose of DevOps practices is to shorten the development life cycle, right? So I mean, if dev is preparing something and then it giving to ops and then ops is deploying that or maintaining that, it creates a lot of it creates the development life cycle, bigger life cycle, right? So purpose is that we should shorten this life cycle and then we should provide continuous delivery with high quality, right? And we will see what is continuous delivery means, but we know that what is software high quality. So is do we have any link with DevOps and Agile? So we can say that DevOps is complementary with Agile. It means that if you are following Agile methodologies in your organization like Scrum, and if you're not following DevOps, so you are not following Agile fully, right? So, and if you will follow the DevOps with your Agile methodology, it means you will get many benefits of Agile. So it's just complementary, or you can say increasing the benefits of Agile. Okay. In if you want me to, okay, what I was telling you that is confusing, what is the simplest definition? I want to start the implementing DevOps in my organization, or if I'm following DevOps or not, or DevOps practices or not. So I'll tell you that the key or the simplest thing is automation. Are you doing the automation in your stuff as a developer, as an organization? If you are automating your processes, if you're automating your daily jobs, you are already following DevOps. That's my definition, right? And for automation, what is the key? You need to see if you can execute things from CLI or not. If you can execute things from CLI, it means you can automate that stuff. Yes, we can. We cannot do many things from CLI. Then we can use other tools for automation like Selenium or other tools which helps us to perform the user actions which we cannot do from CLI directly. But the key is that you need to look for the automation, and for automation you need to look how you can do that from CLI. If you are doing that, then you just need to streamline with some pipeline development tool like we'll see GitHub Actions or any other tool, and then you are already following most of the DevOps practices. By the way, DevOps is quite complex and bigger philosophy. There are many other aspects of DevOps, but we are currently talking about only the pipeline development or the automation of deployment or automation of our processes or regarding the pipelines. Okay, so we hear these definitions CI/CD. So CD has two acronyms. So what is CI? CI is continuous integration. So if you are continuously integrating your code into your shared repository, then you can say that, okay, I am continuously integrate my code or I'm following CI, right? But the caveat is here that if you are just pushing your changes into your normal branch, we cannot call it continuous integration. Continuous integration means that if you're following, for example, Git, and if you have your branching strategy like main or develop, or let's say you have master branch as a main branch, which you consider as a production branch. If you are merging your changes in master branch continuously, then you can say that I'm following continuous integration, right? This is very important. So it means because master is your production branch and whatever comes in master should be stable. So it means you cannot push your changes continuously or frequently in master without doing proper testing stuff. So it means our continuous integration will be slow if we'll go for manual testing. So how to achieve actually a real continuous integration that will be achieved through automated testing, right? So it means we don't need automation testing, okay? But if we are going to follow DevOps properly, it means we will have to follow continuous integration. Will then we'll have to follow automation for testing too. Okay, what is continuous delivery? Continuous delivery means when you are pushing your changes into your master branch or whatever branch we're talking here, then a release should be ready for the client to deliver, right? Then it means a change comes into master, then automatically to the processes or pipelines, you will prepare a release for the end user. I'm saying prepare a release. I'm not saying that deploy the release, right? If you can prepare the release which is deployable, then we are saying we are following continuous delivery. But if you, whenever a change comes into your master branch, you prepare the release and you deploy it to the production environment, then will say that continuous deployment, right? So what is if I'll explain it in this flow, if you are following these practices, you are building your job in your pipeline, you are doing the unit testing, you are doing deployment, you're deploying the application into staging environment, and then you are doing some integration testing, acceptance testing. You're following continuous integration, right? We can say that, okay, we are following this. But if you are doing also, you are manually deploying to production, it means your release was ready, but you are deploying manually, right? Whenever you want, after 1 day, 2 day, then you are following continuous delivery, but we'll not say it continuous deployment. But if we'll automate this deployment part, then we'll call it continuous deployment. What it means, you made a change, you did your test, and then you push your change into master branch. As soon as change will go into the master branch, that master branch will be deployed into the production automatically after doing different steps. Then we'll call it continuous deployment. Okay, so this should be the ultimate goal. I mean, you should be deploying your production automatically through automation multiple times a day, right? That should be your goal if you want to start to follow the DevOps properly. Now, what is GitHub Actions? So naming, I don't know why they name this thing like this, but so names sometimes confuse, right? So we can say that GitHub Actions is a way or approach or methodology or technology which is integrated into GitHub to achieve CI/CD, right? So I'll explain you a little more after this, but that's some theory. So it supports different operating systems, Linux, Mac OS, Windows, ARM, and containers. It supports different technologies. I mean, any technology, almost any technology you have, you can build your CI/CD in GitHub, right? Built-in secret store. When you are building your CI/CD pipelines, it means you will be deploying stuff, you will be reading stuff from different places. It means you will be using some secrets, your keys, how you're going to place those keys in your CI/CD. You can use the built-in secret store, which is available in GitHub, right? Or for public repositories, it is available. It is free. This is some information because if it is free, it will not be free for forever or for anything. So there is some limitations, right? So I've shared some limitations here. This information I think is 3 or 6 months older. There may be some changes here. Let me explain you one more concept here, then I'll explain further. So whenever you will say that you are going to develop your pipelines, let me say in GitHub Actions, in GitLab, or in Bitbucket, or even Jenkins, you will prepare your pipelines normally in some YAML file, right? YAML file is you can call it a superset of JSON, right? But what is that YAML file? A YAML file will have some jobs or some configuration, but how to execute that stuff? I mean, I was mentioning build job. I was mentioning this stuff, right? Build, unit testing, or deploying, or this stuff. Who will be doing this stuff? Okay, we will have some configuration where we will have commands, but where will those commands be running, right? So in all these environments which I mentioned, you will have some executor. We call it a runner, GitHub runner, GitLab runner, Bitbucket runner, Jenkins. These will be the runners, right? These runners are software which will run on some machine like Windows or Linux, and when you will create some job, that job will go to the runner will run that job and execute that stuff. So we are saying is self-hosted. If that runner is on your personal machine or your own machine, then it's free. Then you don't have any issue, right? So for private repositories, if you want free, then you cannot use GitHub runners. Then you will have to deploy that runner on your local machine or on your machine in anywhere, right? In cloud or somewhere. And then you connect your GitHub with that runner, and then your machine actually executes the jobs and all that stuff, right? So when you go that route, you learn more about that. Okay, let's go to some more concepts. So in GitHub Actions, what are GitHub Actions? Help you automate tasks, event driven. You will be performing different events in your repository, like pushing something to your repository, creating pull request, merging pull request. These are the events, right? And you want to do different actions on these events. Whenever you push something into your master branch, you should be doing something. So pushing is an event. Creating pull request is an event. Merging pull request is an event. So you will be creating your jobs or executing jobs on some events. Okay, so an event, then a job. What is a job? Job is a collection of steps, and what we do in a step, we perform some action. Echo is an action. Print an action. Print is an action. MS build command is an action, right? So any command which you execute on CLI is an action. Okay, so then we can have multiple jobs. Okay, event, an event occurs multiple jobs, and every job will have steps, right? And then a job will be running on a specific runner, which I explained what is a runner, right? So if you have multiple jobs, it is possible that job 1 is running on runner 1, job 2 is running on runner 2, job 3 is running on runner 3. Depending upon the availability of the runner, it creates a queue, and then it gives the configuration to that runner, and then runner executes those commands. Okay. So components of GitHub Actions, we will hear these words: workflows, events, jobs, steps, actions, runners. Okay. Workflows. So you can create multiple workflows. We are going to see many workflows in the demos. So there are many. Workflow is basically a YAML file. So if you say that I want to create a workflow in GitHub Actions, you will have to create a YAML file which will have these components. I will show you some samples now. Okay, so this is one thing. Events, like I mentioned, can be different events. Push as an event, pull request are events, right? If you want to create you want to do something on creation of pull request, you will use the pull request event. So you will have a workflow. In workflow, you will write your configuration. In configuration, the first thing is how you want to execute this. When you want to execute this workflow, you will say that, okay, I want to execute this workflow on push, on pull request, right? You will tell this information in the workflow. Jobs. So you will execute some job, right? You want to deploy, you want to build, that will be a job. What is a job? Job is a set of steps you want to execute. Okay. Steps. Step is a simple, you can say a command, like I mentioned, you can use the MS build command, you can use echo command. Any command you can run on CLI, you can provide in the steps. What are actions? When we say the GitHub Actions, so they gave this name. And what is actions? Now, like in programming, if you are doing something, you are using some code in many projects, what you do, we can create a library of that code and then we can reuse that library in our application. So they introduced the same concept here, right? So if you are doing some functionality or some programming or some steps continuously, so instead of repeating those steps in every workflow, you can create a separate repository and you can call it action, and then you can use that action in your workflow by mentioning single line, right? There are, I mean, the popular why GitHub Actions got so much popularity because of the community. So there are thousands of actions available in the marketplace, freely available. You can use those actions. Even those are open source. You can go and you can see the code of those actions, what they are doing, and you can just use single line and provide the parameter, and it will do the rest of stuff. For example, let me give you a simple example. You want to deploy in AWS. Now, it can include many steps, right? Log into the AWS and then copying stuff and then other stuff. You will have to find the commands and then you will have to execute those commands manually. But as first thing, if you check and go to the marketplace and check for if we have any action AWS deploy action, you will find some action available. Okay. You will write single line. You will provide the parameters like credentials, like and directory, and then it will do all the stuff for you. So before, if you have any idea while working in GitHub, just check if you already have some action for it or not. If you have it, use it instead of creating your own actions, right? Runner, as I mentioned, whatever we are talking about, workflows, events, jobs, anything, that is just a configuration. So that configuration, those commands will run on some actual machine, right? And on that actual machine, we will have some runner. Runner is an application, exe file, you can say. So that runner will be listening, will be connected to your repository, and then will be listening for the events. As soon as something will occur, then configuration will be given to the runner. Runner will execute that configuration. So we are talking a lot. Here is the simple workflow. What we're talking, let me explain it quickly. So here we are creating a workflow where we are giving the name of the workflow, something unique in our repository. Then we are telling the event on push. Then we are describing the jobs. Currently we have only one job, check batch version. So I mean, it's simple YAML file. In YAML file, we know spaces are very important. So you tell which thing belongs to which by using these spaces or dentations. So we are telling that, okay, this is my job name. I want to run this job on this operating system. There are, I mean, if we are using GitHub provided runners, then we have options, different operating system. We can use Ubuntu, we can use Windows, we can use Mac OS. List is available. You can mention that only one here. Then we are providing the steps. So in 99% cases, the first step will be this action. So this is how we use an existing action. We use the uses word, and then we use the name of that action. This is actually part of this repository. If you open this in GitHub, github.com/action/, so you will see this is a repository actually. So this action, you will see this action as a default action in almost every workflow. What it does, it basically check out or download or clone the repository onto the runner. We know that runner is a different machine, repository is a different thing. So if you want to do anything with the code of the repository code, you want to build it, you want to deploy it, first you need to check out or clone that code onto your runner. So you will see this action many places, almost all the places. Then we have another action we are showing here that is available, which basically what it does, it set up your node environment on the runner machine, right? You can see these few commands. We are setting up our node environment and we are providing some parameter to it. Here we are not providing any parameter. Here we're providing the parameter with the keyword, and then we are telling node version is 14. If you want to use different node version, you can do that. So now you can assume that if you have used earlier Jenkins, for example, you can understand you will have to do a lot of stuff for this stuff. But here we are just writing single lines, and then a lot of stuff is being handled automatically. And this is how you run single statement. But we are doing simply printing. We are installing a bats npm package, and then we are executing a bats command. So simple. So it doesn't matter what we are doing here. The important thing, the structure and how we can execute single statement. Okay. So I'm assuming that question answer will be at the end, right? Or through the chat. Just keep going.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think as soon as some of these questions would come up, I would be sharing it with you.
Okay. Okay. So now we'll go to the demos and other stuff. So therefore, I'll stop the screen slides now. We'll go to.
Sure.
Okay. Let me share again. Okay. So if we, if we are working in the GitHub, we can see this Actions tab here. If we go to the Actions tab, we can see all our previously created workflows in this menu, and the execution of those.
Just a second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can go on because I was just sort of sending that to the live stream.
Okay. Okay. So if we go to the GitHub to any repository, we can see this Actions tab. In this Actions tab, we can basically see the workflows here, and then the execution of those workflows here, right? If we want to create a new workflow, just give me a second. I'll stop presenting for a second. Sorry for that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready again. Okay, let me know if you can see my screen back.
Yeah. Yes.
Let me know when.
You can.
Okay. Okay. So I was telling that when we open any repository, we can see this Actions tab here. If I go to this Actions tab, I can see the workflows in the left panel, and then if an execution of those workflows here, where we can see what had happened with the workflow and that stuff. We'll execute some workflows now, and we'll see the output, how that works. If we don't have any workflow, we want to create new workflow, we can click on this button, new workflow, and then it will open this this screen where we can choose some option according to our understanding. Okay, I want to deploy Node.js to Azure, or so what it will give you relevant workflow for you, and then you can update that and you can use that workflow instead of creating single line by yourself. You can use any existing workflow, right? A lot of workflows are available for different technologies which you can use. So for now, I will use this simple workflow. Okay, configure. When I'll create this, when I will use that option, it is doing nothing. What it is doing, it is creating a YAML file into the .github/workflows folder. It means if I want to create a new workflow from my local machine, I just need to create a YAML file at this location, and then I need to provide this structure which I explained you earlier, right? Which is explaining me, okay, name, then the event, and then jobs, like that stuff. And then we can commit our workflow, this YAML file, and then it will be created. Okay, so this is how we create a workflow in GitHub Actions. Okay, Now, and again, this is very helpful. If you use this approach, it will give you error if you followed something wrong. Let me show you. For example, if I do not follow the proper semantics or syntax, it will give me error that unknown key branches, because branches should not be at this level. It is under push, so it should be at this level. So this is good from this perspective. Now I already have some workflows created. I will explain you those workflows and concepts one by one. Okay, so this is demo one is done. Let me go to the demo two. So now here I'll go to the GitHub folder, .github folder and workflows folder, and then I can see my previous workflows. So let me show you the first workflow, which will we discuss. And this is the same workflow which I have explained earlier. In this workflow, what we are seeing is that the name of the workflow, then the event is push, right? I had not mentioned any branch name here. It means whenever I do the push on any branch, this workflow will be executed. Then I have created single job, which is checking out the code and then setting up the node environment. And then it is just printing the version of npm, right? And then it is executing the ls command. So the core point, the main point is that you need to, if you want to do anything, you need to first understand how you can do that on your CLIs, right? Using the CLI on your own machine, on Linux machine or Windows machine, how you can do that using commands. And then you can just use those commands here. That's all. 99% cases, 90% cases, it will cover your, it will solve your problem, right? Okay, so it is telling me if I push any change to the main branch, it will execute this workflow. Let's see this happens or not. So I come here and I just update this README file. Okay. I commit a change and it is pushed to the repo, right? And go to the actions. You will see that our first workflow is executing, right? Ignore these now because we'll explain those workflows. But for now, you can see my first workflow is being executed with the commit message which I used to update that README file. If I go inside that workflow, I can see my jobs in this menu. If I have multiple jobs, I can see those jobs. Then I can see the job here. I can click on this job, and then I can see the detail of the actions or details of steps executing this workflow, setup job, right? It will show you some configuration here, like what operating system environment, runner version, which runner we are using. Okay, it will show you some information here. Then it will check out the actions we perform. Checkout is checking out the code. It will do something here, right? So if you want to see, I'll show you that later. Then we set up the environment, then we executed run npm version. So this is the result of that command you can see here. So in most of the cases, you will be coming to this screen and you will be seeing what had happened, what result we have, and that stuff. Okay. So this was our first workflow. Very simple, but this is the core for our next steps. If I go further, let me show you more events by showing you another workflow. I go back to the workflows directory and go to the second workflow. Okay, in second workflow, can we try to understand this by simple naming? This is name, this is on, but now we have extended this. What we have done, we have added another variable branches. Okay, so your question may come, how we know that what we can add and where, right? How do we know that branches will come here? That's all available in the GitHub Actions documentations. Okay, I have shared that link in the slides and also available openly on the internet. So you can go there and you see what we can add here. So what I'm doing here, I'm saying that, okay, this workflow should be executed on push, but for these branches only. When I make any push to the main branch, this workflow will execute. Or when I will create a pull request for main branch, then it will be executed. Okay. And this is another event type, workflow dispatch, which is telling that I can execute this workflow manually. If I want to execute this workflow manually by clicking a button, then I will have to add this in my workflow dispatch in my workflow file. Okay, I'm assuming that this is making sense. And this is again jobs. This is the job name, build, and then operating system, then steps, same steps. Okay, checkout. Here we are doing echo, and here we are learning how to provide multiple lines, multiple commands, multi-line commands, we can say that. So echo add, echo test, and that stuff. And you can also see that we can use hash sign to comment some stuff in our workflow file. Okay. So this is our workflow. Now we know that this workflow will be executed on push and on pull request. Okay, so we already have seen when I push something to the main, the second workflow was executed, right? Here we can see it. So this was when we pushed some stuff to main, and here multi-line stuff, and this is one line stuff. Okay. Now the second case was that if I create a pull request, okay, let me do that. I'm going to create a branch, test branch from main. And in test branch, I just or make changes. If I go to the actions, I can see that my first workflow is executing because I didn't make any change in main. First workflow was that whenever you push anything anywhere, it will be executed, and it's happening, right? Now I have created my branch, make a change in that. Now I'm going to create a pull request for that branch. Okay. So destination mains test. Okay, create me pull request. So what should happen? It should execute the second workflow. You can see here. I didn't make any change in main yet, but the second case was that the second workflow executes when we create a pull request. Okay, so now you can understand, or you can think something. Okay, on pull request, I want to execute some steps like build stuff or like unit testing, so that a reviewer can see build is passing, unit testing are passing, then it should be merged. And we can even add our checks. Okay, this pull request should not be merged if this job is failing, this job is failing, we can tell, even we can configure that stuff. Okay. The third case was that the third case was manual execution. So to execute any workflow manually, right, we can execute only those workflows manually where we have mentioned workflow dispatch event, right? So for this workflow, for second workflow, we have provided so we can execute this workflow manually. How we will do that? We'll come to the workflow, then we can see our run workflow option here, and then we will choose our branch, for which branch we want to execute this workflow manually, right? So in our workflow, in this second workflow, we had not mentioned the name of any branch. We have not mentioned the name of any branch here. So it means we can execute this workflow manually on any branch. Okay. So I'll choose second workflow, I'll choose main here, and then I'll run the workflow. Okay. So there is a UI issue. If you run the workflow manually, it will not show you the job instantly. You will have to refresh it so that you can see the jobs here, right? We can see the second workflow is executing here, and it's showing that manually run by here. Okay. So I'm assuming that we are good with this information we have explored so far. Let's go to the next event. So now in some cases, you may want to schedule your workflows. Okay, you are doing some stuff, you want that I want to have a workflow which should be executed in the night 11 p.m. It should build the project. It should deploy in the UAT environment or dev environment automatically. So how you can do the scheduling here? We have that option available. Let me go to the schedule workflow. Okay. Schedule workflow. How do you use that? You use the schedule event, and in schedule event, we use the cron like syntax. where we are telling that, okay, I mean, I'm not explaining how cron syntax works, but here we're saying that this job should be executed after every 5 minutes. And then the remaining stuff is same. There is no change in that stuff. So event is scheduled here. One problem with the GitHub scheduling is that it's not that predictable. It's not that reliable. If you say that, okay, this will execute every 5 minutes, it depends on the load and many other stuff. So if you face any difficulty or you unpredictability, so assume that it is there. Uh, and because it's costly, anyone can create such event of 1 minute and can consume GitHub resources. So they have a policy where they disable such events automatically. So you can see this message here. Because there is no activity in these last 60 days, it is disabled, and you can enable this workflow by clicking this button, enable workflow. Okay, I'm not going to do that. So let's let it disable. But I'm assuming that you understand this basic concept of events, of schedule events, right? We have seen push event, pull request event, then we have seen workflow dispatcher. Now this is schedule event. Okay, next workflow. So next workflow is our paths workflow. Okay, what is paths workflow? You can say that, okay, I don't want to execute this workflow, or I want to execute this workflow only if something is changed in this directory, or if something is changed on JS files, or whenever there is a change in CS file. CS mean C# files or Java files. I want to execute this workflow. But if I make any change in README file, I don't want to execute this workflow like that, right? So we can handle that using this paths approach. Okay. So again, you say that if I push anything, and if I had made change in these paths, we were saying that, okay, I had made change in MD file, readme.md file. If I had made change in docs file directory, in any file or any level, or if I had, and if I hadn't changed JS file, right? So not sign means ignore the JS file change, right? If I make a change in JS file only, this workflow will not be executed. This means, right? And then we are also providing extra parameters. Okay, we're considering only main branch, and then we can execute this workflow manually. And then again, we are doing some stuff here. What we're doing, just printing some stuff here, right? So if I made a change in JS file, it will not be executed. But if I made in change docs directory or README file, this will be executed. So let's try. If I make a change in JS file, in MD file on the main repository, see if this workflow gets executed or not. Paths workflow. Go to the actions, and we can see first workflow is executing fine, second is working fine, and then we can see that paths workflow is executing. Okay. So one important point regarding the paths workflow is that when you start working, then you have many jobs in your workflow, right? Job 1, job 2. And sometimes you want to execute job 1 for some paths and job 2 for some other paths, right? We may have multiple projects in our solution context of .NET or even Node. We may have multiple packages, and we don't want to execute all jobs for all paths. So currently you cannot do that out of the box. Right, you can execute a workflow, or you cannot execute a workflow depending on the path which I explained. But you cannot skip the jobs for paths. For that, we have actions available in the marketplace, which does this stuff. I'm not going to explain that. I will add the demo in this repository, and you can see this later, or if we have any session in future, we can see that. So I'm assuming path workflow is also simple and clear. And similarly, like we have paths, similarly like we have ignore paths, right? If you want to use the ignore approach, okay, if I make a change in this directory, in this directory, in this directory, then ignore, otherwise execute, you can use that option too. Okay, so another case may come when you want that, okay, I have a deploy job for production, and we are deploying the job whenever we make a change in master. So let's say you make a change in master, you push a change in master and deployment job gets started. Another person or another pull request is merged, another change comes in master and another job started. So what will happen? I mean, if one job is deploying into production and making changes into your deployment environment and in databases, another job starts doing that, then this is a problem. So in many cases, you want to execute workflows sequentially, right? Sequentially mean if same workflow gets executed or if same workflow is triggered multiple times, you want to execute them in sequence. So if one is executed, then the next execution should be completed, then the next execution should be completed like that. Okay. So for that, we have a feature concurrency. So let me show you that and have a demo of that.
So, Bilal, just conscious of time, I'm just going to let you know, there are about 10 to 10 minutes we have, so that we can have the next speaker in as soon as possible. So 10 to 15 minutes, I think you can wrap up the session.
Okay, I'll finish my session in 55, right?
Yeah, around 55, so that we can have the next speaker in and then we do some run test run.
Sure. Right. Okay, so in concurrency demo, we can see that we have an option where for a job we provide this concurrency setting and we give it a name, or we provide a group name here. So now any job, my voice is repeating. Okay. So for any job where we have this group build job, for example, this is a dummy name, or you can provide any name. Any job which is having this group, so runner will serialize or will create a queue, and we'll put the jobs in that queue, so that if one job is multiple triggers happens, so if first one job will be executed, then the second job will be executed. Okay, let me show you the demo. We can execute this job manually. So I'll go there and then I'll execute this job manually. Show you the demo. I'm going here concurrency test, and then I'm going to run this job multiple times. So one important thing which I was showing here for your understanding, so that how I'm going to test this, I have used action which is available in marketplace to create a delay, right? So at this step, it will create 30-second delay, so we can run the second job. Okay, I'm going to run this concurrency test job multiple times. Okay, this is executed. We can see it by refreshing. Okay, it is executing. Now I'll run it again. Okay, so it will not be executed instantly. We can see here, it will show us a tip. This workflow run is waiting for another serialized run to finish. So once this is finished, then this will start executing. Okay, this is very helpful. Please remember this while you're developing your workflows. Okay, let me show you the next demo. This is straightforward. That is another useful workflow. Sometimes you want to run a job multiple times with different parameters, right? You want to do some stuff, but you are having different parameters. So in such cases, you can choose this strategy pattern. You can define your metrics. So what I'm doing nothing special. Everything is same which we have seen. I just have included this stuff here. So what you can do, you can use strategy patterns. You can create your metrics, and then you can create your sets, right? Here I have created set 1, set 2, set 3, and we may have many more sets. And then we have these two parameters which are optional. You can say that, okay, let me explain these parameters after a few seconds. So now what it will do, it will execute this job. We can see for set 1. Then it will execute the same job for set 2. Then it will execute the same job for set 3. It means if you want to do anything special for this set, you can do that. Like I'm just printing these variables by using the metrics keyword. In GitHub Actions, we use this syntax to output our variables. Mr. Bhai, it seems like your mic is unmute because I'm hearing myself back.
Sorry?
Seems your or some other mic is open because I'm hearing my sound back. It was not happening earlier. Okay, let me
just a second. Let me is it echoing for some reason, or
yes, it was not.
Is it okay? Is it better now?
Okay, let me check. Yeah, it's better. It's in better. Okay, so I was sharing that you want to do some stuff here. You can do that. Like I'm just printing the values of these variables here, but you can do a lot of stuff here, right? You have different parameters to test your application. You can have that, and then you can just pass those parameters or variables to the environment or the stuff, and you can do that. What are these variables? So let's say you have 100 sets here. So it means it will create 100 jobs because it is going to create a job for every set. So you want to execute, you don't want to execute 100 jobs at once because it can create a load on your environment or your runner. So you can tell, okay, it should execute maximum jobs in parallel to 10, 5. You can tell that here. But is fail fast true? It means that if one job gets failed, it will stop the whole workflow or whole job. It will not execute other jobs, or it will stop other jobs. So, but if you want that, okay, all jobs should execute, whether any job gets failed or passed, it should keep continuing. Then you can use fail fast, false. Sorry, fail fast, fail. Okay. So let me show you the demo again. We can execute this manually. I'm going to the here. Here we have metrics demo. Then I will create a workflow on the main branch. Then I will run this workflow. So if we can see, if we come inside this workflow, we can see now a different UI. We can see multiple copies of that job. As we have set 2 parallel jobs, we can see these 2 jobs are executing and third is waiting, right? And we can see the status of these jobs here, and we can see again, if you go inside the job, you will see the same stuff printing or whatever we have done. Okay, so keep this metrics approach in mind. It is very helpful. Now let me show you the other one, and then we'll see 2 actual pipelines. Don't want to miss those pipelines. Manual inputs. In some cases, you want to workflow, but you want to give some inputs to the workflows manually, right? So how do you that in workflow dispatch? You can create inputs. Like I've created one input employee ID, another input employee name, and then you can access these inputs by using this syntax: github.event.inputs. The field name which you have provided here, employee ID or employee name, right? So here we are checking if these fields are empty or 0 or null or empty. We are printing an error and we are exiting our workflow. And if this is fine, then in the next step, we are just printing those inputs we have provided to the Git. Okay, so let me execute this workflow and you will see how these inputs work. I'm going to manual inputs screen. Here I'll use, you can see manual inputs, run workflow. I can see, I can choose the branch and then I will have to provide the inputs. Let me give you the direct inputs so that we can save time. I will run the workflow and then it will run the workflow. It is one, this is bad one. In bad one, if you go and see, this is a good one. This is a bad one. In the bad one, I can show you the error. If I will not provide anything, it is giving the run validation error and will invalid inputs and exit one to exit the workflow. This is good one. It has valid inputs and it is doing the stuff right. Sorry, here it is print ID and name. Okay, it is printing the value and other environment variables. Okay, now it's time to show you actual pipelines. So the first pipeline I'm going to build and deploy a .NET 5 application in the Azure cloud. What I have done, I have created app service in Azure. I got a publish profile. I added that publish profile in the repository settings. Okay, so in repository settings, if we go here, we can create our secrets. I mentioned a secret store, built-in secret store. If you go to the repository setting, and here you see the secrets, actions, then you can create your secrets. Interestingly, once you create this secret, even you cannot get or cannot see the value of these secrets. Okay, so I have created a secret here. Okay, this secret, this is just a name, and then I put that publish profile in that secret. It means now I can use that publish profile to deploy my stuff. But what we have here, let me show you. It's a .NET MVC based application, right? And then we have a workflow here. Okay, so we have two workflows here. This is a pull request workflow. What we should be doing on the pull request? Should we be doing the deployment? Normally, we will not be deploying anywhere for the pull request, but we will be doing some stuff on the pull request, like building the project, like doing the unit testing, like that stuff. So what we are doing here, we are saying that this workflow should be executed for pull request. Okay, pull request, when pull request is created for main. Okay, I should be able to execute this manually. Then what we are doing, Ubuntu, then we are using checkout option. We are checking out our stuff. Then again you can see I'm not worry how to install the SDK, .NET SDK, that stuff. We already have actions provided by Microsoft, or you can say by a community, where we are using this action, and we are providing .NET version. So it will set up .NET 5, all the stuff, all the variables, environment variables for you. Then we are using a simple .NET command, .NET restore. Then we are using .NET build command, and then we are using .NET test command. Again, these are simple .NET commands. For PHP, these will be different. For Python, these will be different, but concept will be similar. Okay, so this is our CI, or you can say CI workflow, where we are talking about continuous integration. We are checking stuff, and then we are running that stuff. So if I go here and create a new pull request, okay, we have a branch test. I think already have test branch. Don't have anything. Let's go to the test2 branch, and it is telling me that pull request is already there. Let's close this pull request and create a new pull request. Okay, test2, create pull request. Okay, create pull request, and we can see the actions detail, what is available in action, and we can see verify workflow is executing, which is actually doing the build and stuff. So if we make any change in the main, it will do the deploy workflow. What is deploy workflow? Let me show you the deploy workflow. It's also very simple, and we can even see it. Okay, so currently, for example, we are saying that whenever we push a change into the main, we will do this, execute this workflow. Then we are setting a .NET environment. Then we are building stuff. Okay, this is building stuff, and it is basically creating artifact. The artifacts can be used in other jobs, right? Because every job is running on different environment. So we are creating an artifact. The build code, which is a deployable code, we are placing that published or deployable code in an artifact. And then in the deploy job, this is a different job, we are using that artifact. Okay, and here we are saying that this job, build job, deploy job depends on build job. Okay, deploy job depends on build job. So how we can tell that? By using the needs keyword. Okay, and then we are using here another action which deploys the stuff. I just need 1 minute. Just need 1 minute.
Yeah, you can go on. You can wrap this up. Johnny has joined the call. So Johnny, just give us a couple of minutes. Bilal is wrapping up the session. So yeah, you can just let us know if you can hear us. Bilal, yeah, go on. You can wrap this up.
Thank you. So here we have another workflow, another GitHub action, Azure Web Apps Deploy. It takes the name of that web app we have in Azure, and then the publish profile. Publish profile, we have saved that in the secret. We are giving the path of that variable, and that's all. It will automatically build the connection, and it will deploy that stuff to the Azure. So just let me show you this demo, and then we'll close it. Okay, so we're done. Meanwhile, if there is any question, please throw at me.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, this was a very detailed one. So it's just, yeah, good run through for the Git actions. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think, yeah, recordings will be shared with the attendees, and yeah, even Bilal, if you'd want the recording, yeah, that can be shared with you after the event. of this session. So thank you so much for your efforts.
Just few seconds. Just
Yeah.
It's the last part. Yeah. So I have made a change in the main branch. It is building stuff and then it's deploying stuff. So yeah, it will take only a few more seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so build is done, and then we can see the deploy stuff. Okay, will be done in a few seconds. So what I have done, the last part is that I made a change in my code, and that's all. Now it's doing all the stuff automatically. It is building the stuff. It is deploying the application to Azure. So whenever I'll make a change in the main branch, it will do all that stuff. And okay, that's done. And if we see here in the summary, we can see the link here. And if I open this link, I can show you the deployment stuff, which is okay. It's showing me the other stuff, the login stuff, the login screen. Okay, that's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Bilal. Yeah, hope to
Thank you.
keep connected with you. Yeah, and then do more sessions. Thank you.
Thank you.